The local government voted not to renew the contract. Then that decision was reversed, and through all of it, the flock cameras remained on anyway?
Mass surveillance infrastructure continues to be built, and flock cameras are deployed more places. They're popping up all over the place in all different states and cities across the country. People are taking notice. They're creating maps to track where they are. They're holding city council meetings and pushing back against them and seeing that this is a major issue. We can appreciate men like James Fishback running for government when he has this to say.
And our founding fathers were brilliant men. They, in many respects, envisioned the very crises that afflict us. The Fourth Amendment was written for a reason. You and I have a right to never be the subject of an unreasonable search and seizure. We will block flock across the state of Florida.
And we need absolutely more of that. Unfortunately, Florida already has a lot of flock cameras all over the place, and that is why we see this kind of thing happening. People are going and cutting them down, running them over, running their trucks into them, all kinds of stuff. They do not want to see those flock cameras and their warrantless spying. Well, what does a flock CEO have to say about those who are informing people and building these maps, letting people know where flock cameras are? Yeah, he says they're terrorists.
You've got organizations like the ACLU and the EFF who take an above-board approach to fight for their point of view. And thankfully, we live in a beautifully democratic, capitalistic country where we can fight in court. And I have a lot of respect for those groups because they have reasonable debates and we follow the law. And then unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFLOC, whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else. And that, I think, is unfortunate because we don't want chaos, or I don't want chaos. I like law and order. I like a society that has a bedrock of safety. So for those groups, I think it's just disappointing that they haven't chosen a more constructive mannerism to try to get what they want, which they have a right to have, but that's why we have a democratically elected process, right? Like we're not forcing flock on anyone. Elected officials know that as a community, you want to be safe. You've got...
Yeah, and the organization that he's talking about, I think it's DFLOC, they've got a map, basically. A map of the plans for building out flock cameras. You even got members of county boards now pushing back against it, like this guy here.
God help us if the board and police here believe this, that you have no right to privacy from persistent, constant, warrantless surveillance across 92,500 cameras. And the fact that you are proudly bragging that 220 agencies in Wisconsin now film us, so we should do it too, is appalling and dangerous. And you know what? It's not 222 agencies, Erica. Do you know how many searched your cameras last month? 5,000 agencies. And you didn't know, including the fine young men and women at Wallace State Community College in Alabama.
Order, please, Chair.
I'm talking.
Hey.
Excuse me.
Listen, this is people's liberties. And you know what? 5,000 agencies searched us last month.
Chairman, I call for recess, please.
Yeah. So even some tension on the board. And then we have this. Flock is now in over 5,000 communities, conducting over 20 billion license plate scans every month. Flock CEO says they respect the democratic process, but when a Cleveland commission voted not to renew the AI surveillance company's contract, that decision was promptly reversed with little explanation. This is what it looks like when politicians don't respect the people. It is, in fact, the opposite of the democratic process.
People who oppose AI-powered mass surveillance are what the CEO of Flock, Garrett Langley, calls terrorists.
And then unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFLOC, whose primary motivation is chaos.
Flock is a $7.5 billion mass surveillance company that spreads through securing local government contracts now in over 5,000 communities, and has more than 20 billion vehicle tracking plate scans every month. A lot of these contracts are secured without public input, and I get why people wouldn't want these cameras, but Garrett says opposition, organized opposition, is terrorism. That's why we have democracy instead.
That's why we have a democratically elected process, right? Like, we're not forcing Flock on anyone.
That's interesting, Garrett, because towns that voted to end their partnership with Flock still have cameras running. Here's an example unfolding right now. After massive public opposition to surveillance, the Cleveland Public Safety Commission voted not to renew their contract with Flock. Yay, democratic elected processes. But wait, what's this? The cameras are still running? They're holding a revote?
I am frustrated that despite a 3-1 vote against renewing the city's Flock contract 2 weeks ago, Flock is for some reason getting a do-over.
Residents say that after the original vote to end the contract, the city council president, mayor, and police chief pushed for reversing course, resulting in a revote that now has advanced the contract despite public opposition. The next step is a full council vote on July 15th, less than a week after the revote. This leaves residents with very little time to fight back, and keeping the cameras on is one thing. Another is a community celebrating a win they fought for, only to be told it didn't hold weeks later.
I've never seen an instance where there was a revote on something that has already been heard. It felt like people were able to gather and make sure their voices were heard. And instead of listening to residents, they gave the agencies that stand to benefit from this another shot at convincing City Council.
So, people showed up to local government meetings, said they don't want a Flock contract. The local government voted not to renew the contract. Then that decision was reversed, and through all of it, the Flock cameras remained on anyway?
That's why we have a democratically elected process, right? Like, we're not forcing Flock on anyone.
Any update on this, Garrett?
Yeah. So it's just continually forced upon everyone, and they are overturning decisions, saying, let's restart the whole process. Very sad, very wicked. Hit that like button, help us hit more people. Subscribe if you like content like this, analyzing different current cultural trends from a Christian theological perspective, and subscribe. And take a look at that pinned comment down below for related videos. God bless. Thanks for watching. Adam's Analysis is here to provide logical, analytical, and theological perspectives on current cultural issues. To find out more about the channel, take a look down in the pinned comment. There's a channel trailer. There are also other related videos to watch. Don't forget also to like and subscribe on the way out. God bless, and I will see you next time.